Good morning, everyone. I had a prompting this morning to do a live video, which actually surprised me. And it's something that I actually been thinking about for a while I've been in this space of immersion. Many of you have been following along with some of the postings that I wrote several weeks ago saying that I needed to take a step back and go very deep inward, which has been a period of profound awareness. What actually led me to that was a crisis on so many levels: a health crisis, a life crisis, spiritual crisis. And, you know, there are times when things have to get to a certain extent of intensity before you can see something. Even if you've been on a journey for a while and you've been doing all the right things, there are times when we come to an impasse that it can take a few 2x4s in order to break through the resistance that we have placed in our path. And that's how it was for me. I've often been acknowledged as a warrior, which is a lovely thing, to discover a strength inside of yourself when it's one that is really serving you in a positive way. And for me, when I've come from a place of fierce passion and values, it's been a source of comfort and power. And over the last several years, I hope that I have come from that strong place of a loving and a compassionate warrior, both in my own lives and in the ways in which I've shown up in the world. And then, of course, in our humanity, we have those shadow parts of ourselves that go into battle, that go into fight, that go into resistance. And there are so many ways that we can justify those parts of ourselves, how we take a stand for things. And the undercurrent of that kind of energy, which is so masculine and has been so much a part of the way in which we've lived in this world, even looking at the language of things: war on this, battle with that, fight this, push that, chase that. And so it has become such a natural way of being, and oftentimes being acknowledged for our tenacity and our willingness to be the fighter and lead the way, lead the charge. And so in this period of immersion, which has been probably one of the most profound periods of my life, I found myself in such a state of inquiry. What some of you don't know is the fact that I had literally, over the course of several months, become immobilized physically, spiritually, emotionally. I had never been at that level of agony. And I had been doing really good things. I've been making great changes. A lot of things in my life was working, but clearly there were some things that I was resistant to take a look at. And I had lots of reasons. I want to do things my way, sometimes get a little bratty about it. And this fierce independence, which can be very powerful. And so I got to a point where I was in really bad shape. And I had been working and doing everything that I thought was in support of moving myself forward, only to realize, when I got really honest, that I had been running hard. And I had to stop and crash myself in order to get to a point where I would stop fighting, because the war was within me. And I'd walk around and I could see where I was surrendering and going with the flow of things, and it was beautiful. And then there's those blind spots, and they show up in different forms with each person. They can show up in relationships, money blocks, a health crisis, a spiritual crisis. The brilliance inside of ourselves knows every button to push, and it'll push it when we need it the most. You know, there's a magnificence to the fact that all of us don't crash at the same time and in the same way, because there are individual ways in which we move through the experience. And I say this to you not feeling victimized by anything that happened, because it's been, as I said, it's been a period of profound humility and breakthrough. I had to stop and let everything drop and get present in a way that I never have before, and go into this deep state of soul connection. And I've always been on a spiritual path. And this felt more, the only word that I can think of is sacred. It was a deeper commitment of moving from saying that I'm leading from soul guidance, which I always have to an extent, always been intuitive. There was a missing, deeper commitment, a calling of myself home, which many of you may be feeling, that said, you cannot live like this anymore. And it was obvious that even though I had a choice, if I continued fighting, not even realizing that I was fighting, thought I was surrendering, and realizing how much power I was giving away. When I talk about power, I mean I'm not even sure if I can describe it, because it has a different meaning for me that may have a different meaning for you. It was a grace, a wisdom coming through, a willingness to really keep tuning in and be in this ongoing state of inquiry, questioning everything. What is truth? What is power? What is... Not that I did this 24/7, because, you know, you can start getting into your head trying to analyze and figure what things mean. I found myself in a state of curiosity. And once I started to let go, and I will tell you that there were moments when I was just sobbing and having no idea what was going to happen next, and needing to let that be okay, and trust like I've never trusted before. And many of you may have this deep yearning to be at this level of trust, because it's a whole different way of living. You know, people are writing things on Facebook and describing this incredible shift that we're all going through. And it gives you a framework of what's possible once you begin to immerse yourself in the experience of that. You begin to get a sense of what that can feel like. And it's sometimes I can't put it into words, and I don't want to. I don't want to put a label on it. The ego is very uncomfortable and slippery. And it's given me an opportunity to be in a state of appreciation for the ways in which that part of me serves to help me go into a deeper connection with myself. And that part is also up-leveling because it's part of our connection to our humanity. So once I started to let go, which I had to, things started moving very quickly. I started to notice all of the synchronicities and support that rushed in fast, and I mean fast. Resources that were pivotal for me to start to feel better. Connections, blessings, simple things. Asking for help, allowing that help to come, being willing to not know anything, being willing to just sit and do nothing, and realize that there's so much happening in that nothingness. I hope this is making sense to some of you, because a lot of times when I like to do these videos, I like to make notes. I haven't made any notes at all. So I started also looking at all the rules, all the have-tos, all the strategies. I have to have the answers. I have a sense of where things are unfolding and staying very aware to attaching to nothing so that there are no limits. And what's also happened is I feel a stronger sense of connection to my spirit. The conversations that are coming through are encouraging. The flow of things is happening quickly, even though a lot of things in my outer life is still very much in flux. I feel very different inside. And the level of agony that I was in is nothing like how I'm feeling now. I'm still in a recovery process. I understand why, to an extent. So many of the things that I did in terms of improving my health with a cancer diagnosis would not work. And I feel a sense of optimism and strength and comfort and excitement. And yes, there's some fear and trepidation. It's all mixed in. It feels different. Again, sometimes it's hard to put into words when you're in the experience of something so that it doesn't limit it. So there's so many ways we can be at war at ourselves. We can be at war outside. And they can show up in lots of ways where things are not working, where there's justification, where there's a sense of stress. We get to discover by being willing to create those spaces, by choosing them when we're ready. This was my time. Might not be your time. But this is a time that's coming for all of us because we are coming for us. And what that all looks like, I have no idea. I'm curious as hell. sometimes a little nervous, sometimes a little giggly, and sometimes I have absolutely no need to know anything more than this moment. I'm sitting here in my home. It's a beautiful day. I have everything that I need. The day is wide open for me for anything to unfold. And I don't need to know anything more than that. Whatever is coming next will unfold in its perfect time. And one of the things that became very clear to me is that as I come out of this deeper state of immersion, and maybe that's not even the accurate description, I don't know. I am in this space and wanting it to expand because it is fascinating to be experiencing life in the way that I am. There's a flow to it I have never felt before. And I'm watching, observing, being, staying aware, not trying to do it perfectly. So that's my invitation to you. Be open to be in a state of inquiry. It's absolutely clear to me that the foundation of moving forward in this explosive time of rebirth is anchored in soul embodiment. And I mean not intellectually. And I don't know what that might look like for you. For me, it is sometimes through meditation. I mean, there's so much information out there to guide anyone who's interested. It's a choice. The mind, the ego, has no clue how to move through this period into this incredible space of possibility. No clue. The soul, the divine essence inside of you, has the key, because you're the key. So that, to me, is exciting because it's accessible. And every time we create that space to honor and bless that essence, maybe you want to call it the divine feminine. I'm not an expert on that, but there's a higher sense of power, a confidence, an inner peace. It's like an awe inside where you can take that deeper breath, and sometimes it can bring you to a place of just tears. And I also want to say that some of those blind spots can be in where things seem to be moving quite well. So I'm curious for anything that maybe I've shared with you today. If there's anything that you would like to share with me, I would love to hear back from you. War is not the way. There's a magnificent way of standing strong in your warrior without having to be in a place of battle. And that's all the ego stuff. When we start to come from that grander place of love and ease, and again, I don't know if these are the right words, This is where we're all headed. This is this place of expansion. It can be an experience that one goes kicking and screaming. If that's it, so be it. We're going to have to stay there. For me, there was no other way. And I'm just in a really, really good place. So as I move forward, everything, every aspect of how I am intending to show up is going to be from that strong, expanding place of soul immersion. And that's where I want to play with people. So, from my heart to yours, I'm really glad that I decided to do this video. It's been fun for me. So I'm just wrapping you all in love. I see many of you have joined. I haven't looked at the messages because I wanted to stay fully present. So I'm just loving all of you. I'm going to be in and out. Obviously, we'll see what the next step is. In the meantime, I'm also thinking it felt very fortuitous with the new moon and equinox and everything that's unfolding. We are headed in a good direction. And before anything new can emerge, there has to be space created. So while it may look like there's so much devastation happening out there, that's what a period of rebirth is about. And we're in it. And the more that we continue to have conversations like this, I think they're important. The more that we keep that connection inward, let your heart lead. Don't try to figure it out. Be gentle with yourself. Keep in that state of inquiry. The help is there. The guidance is there. Let go of the need to know. It's okay to not know. In fact, sometimes it's kind of fun to not know and then see what happens. Anyway, I love you. And I've had fun being with you. So I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And I'll be with you again real soon. Take care.